We're starting on time, Seth's webcam is working, and Chris Jones is tweeting only normal things. Welcome to No Truths and Three Lies.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
I think we're in a good space, despite the fact that, a little tumultuous start never hurt anybody, and we have plenty to talk about, despite the fact that we did one of these shows 2 days ago, and it feels like some stuff has changed. Welcome into Only Weird Games. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor with you here on KC Sports Network. And Seth, you look fine. The webcam situation is fine. You're going handheld with the mic. Why don't you go ahead and go ahead and talk to the people, Seth?
Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me better than normal today. We've decided that handheld mic, which was actually a corollary accident because my webcam went down, which means my usual setup didn't work with the mic in front of me, which means I had to go handheld. And as soon as I talked into it, Josh and Nate and Tucker just all went, ooh. And so, when God closes a door, he opens a different looking mic, as the saying goes.
Nate, I have one real concern about today's show is that it's going to be so much harder for us to talk over Seth that I don't know if we're prepared to handle this adjustment.
We're ready to go. Nothing says off-season preparedness like trying out new equipment literally seconds before Tucker hits the button. I'm just happy that I'm
got
just
a
happy
full
that
screen up now. The whole thing.
Oh, so great.
My ADHD is just freaking out, but I'll be okay.
I appreciate the audience in the comments understanding who we are. There's nothing new, guys, other than Seth's mic and Tucker's ability to continue to put up with us from a timeliness standpoint. But we got plenty to discuss, and when I mean that, I mean there's not really much new things that I'm sure people want, but I'm happy to provide proper context. Only weird mics, and take us away, Josh.
Well, we can start with the Cryptic, or we can start with the spot that we had the most fun on Tuesday's episode, having something kind of new from your colleague, Diana Rossini. Nate, you had obviously been working on this story with Diana throughout all this. You talked about that on the last couple episodes. And I was checking out the Athletic Football Show this morning, and Diana was on there with Robert Mays. And I don't know Diana. She seems lovely. I'm going to say
she is lovely.
She did a way worse job revealing the 5 secret teams. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say that you put more stink on it, which says nothing of her as a reporter.
More sauce.
Definitely.
I love some sauce on my food, okay? Now, if you want to be plain and bland, that's up to you. I just like to add some sauce to it, So
no one would ever accuse Diana of being plain or bland in the way that she delivers information, to be clear. Right. But you really, you put the sauce on it.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to compete with what Nate did. Ooh, this is nice.
It really is.
You got to be respectful even when you're a little whisper boy, but
No, this could be a huge different thing. I did want to say there's no one in the world that could compete with the amount of sauce that Nate puts on. The way he makes a meal out of delivering news is just, some people sprinkle,
Yes.
And some people, it's like me one thing I really love to do, now that Chick-fil-A sauce, you can buy it at Walmart, right?
Yes, you can.
That was the most American sentence anyone has ever said, ever.
Yes,
it
can.
Changes your at-home dining experience in such a major way.
The Lord hath blessed us.
It's not fair either, because it's like, wait,
you know when it's open on Sundays? My refrigerator.
Yeah. Well, and you know where you can get a McChicken for $2, make it plain, and then come put Chick-fil-A sauce all over it.
Don't share the
and then when
don't
you order
share
it,
the game, Seth. Don't share the game.
You order it, and they say, well, you can get another one for $1, and you're like, oh, you shut up and take my money, you wily.
They have. By the way, Seth, where I live in the lovely state of Kansas, I'm sure it's the same in Missouri. You can go to a certain store that I won't name and buy Chick-fil-A sauce and Gate sauce at the same time, my friend.
Dang,
This is one reason I haven't moved to Kansas City. I'm just gonna let the cat out of the bag. I would weigh 500 pounds.
Tucker, go ahead and
way-
flip over to nonsense. You can go ahead and do it. We got a little too newsy
But
here.
I did want to say, so Nate delivering news, the amount of sauce he puts on it is when I get, Burger King will sell you a bunch of chicken nuggets for like 89 cents or whatever it is. Which
They'll
is pretty
sell you like they're doing you a favor. Like you met them in an alley with a little bag, brown paper bag just filled with loose nugs.
Yes.
So some people, they deliver their news with a little bit of sauce. The amount of sauce Nate uses is the amount of Chick-fil-A sauce, because you pour it all on the plate and you're like basically like dunking and rolling it around, and eventually what you have is a completely coated chicken McNugget with sauce. That's Nate.
He's fully
And,
tossing the wings and everything. I mean, it's just
yeah.
fully. So here's the nonsense question that we may have covered before. Seth, I think we've talked about this on AES if I had to guess, honestly. But I'd like to know your guys' your knee-jerk answers. The magic power won't strike immediately, so we can finalize it later. But it's a hypothetical I saw somewhere on the internet a very long time ago, which is that if you had 5 sauces that you could, from a magical perspective, begin to dispense out of your 5 fingers the rest of your life, just pick a hand. And those 5 fingers are now infinite supplies of some form of dipping sauce. What would you have them be? Because you can now just easy at home 24/7. I think I've got at least 3 locked in. Go ahead, Nate.
Gates.
Yep.
I love. This is just me. This is more in the tacos category, burritos category. I can't do Chipotle without the green pepper sauce.
Ooh, okay. That's like the legit Chipotle's green salsa.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
sure.
great.
Just any
It's
green
great. Yeah,
salsa.
yeah.
I'm more of green salsa versus pico de gallo. So like green sauce.
Same. With you. Great call. Love it.
I still like Dijon mustard. Just got to keep mustard in the chamber somewhere around here. Fourth, what would fourth be? I mean, Chick-fil-A is probably in. He's still on the board, so we'll take Chick-fil-A at 4, and then I guess 5. Do desserts count?
I don't think they have to, but I love
Okay.
the fun energy you've brought to this. It's fun. We're just doing a
Caramel-
podcast.
Caramel sauce is really good, guys. So yeah, ranch, great choice. I mean, if you want to put some ranch in it, I totally agree. Shout out to KC Chiefs 21 restaurant.
Yeah, everybody
ranch.
should be
Yes.
playing along in this game in the comments. I would like for you to have to think about it enough to get your 5, because you really start playing an elimination game.
Yes.
So there's Nate's 5. Seth, do you have 5?
Yeah, caramel sauce is incredible.
I mean, so I am, and it's not my favorite sauce, but it's one that's so basic that goes on so many things. Like ketchup's got to be one of them.
I think that's fair.
I mean, so ketchup has got to be one of them. Chick-fil-A regular has got to be one of them. Joe's Kansas City barbecue. Meet Mitch's Womp sauce.
Ooh,
is-
and you're going 2 barbecues. You're going
I'm
2
going
barbecues.
2 barbecues, but
I
they're two
respect it.
very
A1.
different directions of barbecue.
A1 will do the Lord's work on grilled chicken.
I think I'm at 4 already. Oof. And so I'm trying to think. I'm gonna does pizza sauce
Cane
count?
sauce?
You could get Cane's sauce is really high up there. I think if you want to go a little marinara, Seth, I think you can call it marinara, and so you got a marinara. Nate's got a salsa finger. You can have a marinara finger. Welcome
Right.
to Only
I mean,
Yeah.
Also,
and so
like
now I'm safe for all the foods that I like.
Louisiana
and
hot
then-
sauce or like Texas Pete hot sauce. I mean, I forgot about hot sauce, guys.
You got one finger out, just kind of like flicking your finger at your food. Just get like a drop out at a time. You're not really pouring it out.
Sriracha.
I'm going 1-1 is the Night of the Living barbecue sauce. I think it's my number 1 overall sauce pick.
Yeah, Holly loves that sauce. Yep.
It's incredible. I'm making hard choices by not including more. I might have to come back around for more barbecue, but that's 1-1. We got one of those bottles of Chick-fil-A sauce a couple weeks ago. It's gone now, and you can put on anything. You can put on anything. It makes it more delicious. I'm not doing anything mayonnaise-y, so I'll go Chick-fil-A sauce on there. I'm going to go buffalo sauce. Maybe it's a little bit, it's like a little Frank's buffalo sauce. Nice to have that. I eat a lot of chicken. I feel like that's pretty good.
They have one of the best tags in marketing,
Yeah.
which is I put that bleep on everything. Yeah,
It's
totally.
bleeped out with a little splash of sauce.
Yeah, it's
genius.
totally understandable. Whoever came up with that tag needs to be highly praised.
I wasn't thinking about the salsa space that you've taken us in, Nate. I feel like that's a really good addition to make. But I'm probably going to leave it. For my other hand, I'll make that 5 different salsas if the genie will grant me one more wish. So I think I may actually end up going. I think I got to get I would like to get a honey mustard on there, but I don't need it because I got Chick-fil-A sauce. It's two birds on that particular stone.
Uh-huh.
So go ahead and give me Gates Original, second barbecue sauce.
Yep.
And I think Slim Chickens has they have a cayenne ranch that's a thin ranch. I'm not a huge gooey ranch guy.
Yep. It's
that
great.
Slim's cayenne ranch might not be the best dipping sauce at Slim's. They're spicy barbecue, pretty good for a chicken place. But I got barbecue covered on these fingers up here. I got Chick-fil-A sauce.
Is queso a sauce?
I feel good about that. Say again. Seth.
No, that's a cheese. That's just a cheese. Whoa. That's just the cheese.
I don't.
Yeah, I know it's liquidy, but it's.
I don't. Here's
we
the
can't
cutoff.
do that. We cannot do that.
You can't make the sauce warm out of your hand. That's what the logic. You can't go. You can't say it's hot marinara. You can't say it's a warm salsa. It's just got to be what it is out of the hand.
And it's not gonna squirt either.
No.
Now shout out to Thomas Lester who says Gates hot sauce. Man, on those burning hot fries, yes, Lord, yes. Yeah. Why do I need ketchup when I can just dip them in Gates hot sauce?
I'm giving it to the Night of the Living on the spicy category, and then I think to Gates on the original. But there we go. It felt weird to me when we were talking about L'Jarius Sneed 2 minutes into the show, and I feel so much better now.
Okay, because really there hasn't been anything that's happened today other than
I disagree, Nate, because I was listening to the Athletic Football Show, and your colleague Diana Rossini was on there talking to Robert Mays, and Mays said, "I'm wondering what the eventual."
Where'd Nate go?
What? Why is it so hard for me to? Nate's doing a visual bit. Seth is confused by it, and I'm just trying to read from a different screen.
Yep, I'm sorry. You were listening to the Athletic Football Show, and Diana Rossini, Nate's colleague, while he plays hide and seek with the screen. What did she say, Josh?
I wonder if I'm going to ask Nate a question at the end of this that will really clarify some things. Robert Mays said, "I'm wondering what the eventual price tag is. Do you have any sense of that, what a team would have to give up to get him?" A first for sure were the first words out of Diana Rossini's mouth there. She said that was shared, and then Mays kind of started talking because he was kind of interested, and she continued, "The Chiefs understand his value, and they really like him as a player, but they also know the value they're going to be able to get for him, so it's really just going to be the team that thinks that this is worth it at this point, and I have a feeling it's going to be a lot." Nate, where are you right now, other than just out of frame, on the L'Jarius Sneed return potential?
He's like a villain from the Carmen Sandiego video games. The eyes shifting back and forth.
I love Diana. I love Robert. I have a philosophical rule that I'm going to share here. L'Jarius Sneed is one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. Nah, baby. Nah, he don't. Do you score touchdowns? It's getting harder and harder, guys. And maybe I'm surprised. Maybe I'll be surprised. I just think it's hard in this league right now to give up a first-round pick if you don't score touchdowns. If you're not the quarterback, if you're not a receiver, if you're not someone who's producing touchdowns. Now, some teams can get desperate, and I understand that. Okay, well, this is the left tackle who protects the quarterback who scores touchdowns. It's harder. I think it's getting harder and harder for a defensive player to be worth a first-round pick. I think it's more in line with the second-round pick, which is obviously what I've reported. Diana is adding on to the reporting that I've done previously. So that is new information, you could say. I just wonder if a team will actually go to the first round to take a cornerback, someone again who doesn't score touchdowns,
and who's on the tag, because that means you sign him. Because what
with
you're doing
with the understanding that you have to give that person a new contract. I mean, it's again Tyreek Hill, and I like to remind people all the time, Tyreek Hill went for a late first-round pick, and the team that acquired him knew that he wanted to be at the top of the market with his new contract. So if that's I won't say a precedent, but if that's an example, then I find it hard for a team to give up a first-round pick unless they're stupid. And that is no disrespect to L'Jarius Sneed. It is more of a disrespect to what is the owner doing over there if you're going to give a first-round pick to a corner on a franchise tag who's 27, knowing that he needs a new contract. I know, yes, Matt Kinter says DeForest Buckner. How many years ago was that? And what did that do? So I just think as we get smarter, as we do this more and more, I just think unless you're one of the top players, and usually that player is not traded on the defensive side of the ball, the baseline usually starts around a second-round pick. But again, as Diana has said on the Athletic Football Show and as we were discussing here, if there are multiple teams, there is the potential to drive up to the first round. I just don't think that's wise from that team-building perspectives of the team acquiring L'Jarius, knowing that there's a contract that needs to be that you need to create to help your own cap sheet with the because you obviously need to secure the player services more than 1 year. It's no disrespect to L'Jarius Sneed. I think he is one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. But being one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League should not garner a first-round pick, in my opinion.
They spent a lot of time talking about the Lions around that conversation. They are an interesting case in that math there because talking about him being a perfect fit for what they want to do philosophically, defensively, but also, Seth, their first draft pick is at 29 overall, right near the very end of the first round. They obviously don't pick again until they don't have an earlier second round pick from some other move. Their next pick is 61 overall, and then they have 2/3, which I think is from the Hawkinson trade from Minnesota.
Right.
So there's a package that could be there. And Seth, I do want to just go straight from this into the big swings, and then we'll circle back around to talk about what Chris Jones has done on Twitter the last few days. But before we get to big swing territory, just kind of recalibrating, because I know that's we're shooting for some bigger goals in your new piece up in the newsletter. But in terms of realistic returns and general values, Seth, where do you end up falling there?
It's going to depend on each individual team. And the fact is, and we talked about this on Tuesday, you're in your best case scenario if you've got 2 or 3 teams that are legitimately interested. Like legitimately. Because then, once a team's talked itself into their second and 6th, maybe they're like, oh, you know what? Let's just do it first. Like, you know what I mean? Like when it's like, let's just get this done. So that it could happen. I do think there's also probably a little bit of, well, hello, Diana. So nice to talk to you. It's been a long time. Yeah, no. Oh, sure. Yeah, we love L'Jarius. We'd love to keep him. I mean, we're looking at least a first to move him. And, if you happen, yeah, no, that's not off the record at all. You go ahead and put that out into the universe. And then we wait by the phone. And so, and Diana's a pro enough to know that, but it's also what she's told. And the Chiefs really value L'Jarius Sneed. Steve Spagnuolo loves him. They're in a bit of a unique conundrum to where he might not be, it's weird, in their system, he might be more valuable to them than most other teams. But in terms of team building overall, he's not quite as valuable to them as a team like the Detroit Lions, or someone like that that's like, okay, we've got some guys on low-level deals. Our defense is kind of our weak spot. We want to, L'Jarius Sneed is unabashedly a dude that belongs on a kneecap-biting team. Like, and that's, Lance McCormick is right. This is about subtlety. This is about, and that is why I have a hot wife. And so... Because I understand subtlety, and that's what's happening with the Chiefs right now.
I've never met a person in my life who understands subtlety less than you.
Seth.
Now, see, when you say things like that, Josh, it hurts my feelings.
I have a random question that could maybe derail us for a few minutes. Seth,
that'd be weird.
Have you seen My Cousin Vinny?
I have. You know what? I've only seen bits and pieces of it, unfortunately.
Okay, because me and the wife, me and Holly, were just on the couch flipping through channels. Interesting to catch up on the Super Tuesday coverage. Just want to see where things are playing. Okay, let's go to some comedy now. Let's find something a little more lighthearted. My mother, Tanya, loves my cousin Vinny. I can recite lines.
Is My Mother Tanya another movie I haven't seen?
No, no, that's legitimately my stepmother's name. So, but like, it's one of our favorite movies, and we get to the apex. We get to the scene where he calls on his fiance, Vinny.
Oh, sure. How do you know that is not the tire marks?
Yes.
Of a whatever car. I'm a big car guy.
Immaculate scene, just immaculate scene, and when he lets her give the proper testimony, the proper analysis, and then they take her off the stand and they bring on the prosecuting expert, very stiff, very white guy. Sits back in the chair. Hey, you under oath, right? You're still under oath? Yeah. And Vinny goes, how'd she do? She's so, isn't she cute? That is literally a question he asked. Isn't she cute? And then does one of these. Isn't she cute? And the judge goes, come on. And sitting on the couch with Holly next to me, Seth would totally do that. He would 100% do that.
He's maybe done that. Is that he maybe has?
I don't know if Jazz has been in the actual courtroom, not for a murder case, obviously.
She's been sitting in the congregation while I preach, and let me tell you something.
Let me tell you,
that is. I make a lot of eye contact, and I'm just like,
even better. You
guys know
better.
my wife, Jazz, and you can almost
everybody
hear everyone go, oh no, and she's sitting there looking at me just like, don't you do it? And I always have to gauge: is it the yes, Lance, this is your fault. Thank you for the chat. I always have to gauge, is that like a real no? Like you'd be mad at me no? Or is that my husband's silly kind of no? Because there's a big difference between the two. So
Marissa, I just have to remind people, Marissa Tomei won an Academy Award for this movie. That's how bleeping good she was in it. Okay. And it still holds. It still holds. I mean, Joe Pesci is supposed to be the star, but the movie is written in a way that, like, take it. Just take us, Marissa. Take us to the end zone. And she does it, and then she celebrates afterwards in the car ride back to, we presume, New York City. So, yeah, but no, Seth would do that. I just, and like Holly just kind of understood it immediately, just like, yeah, he would do that. He would bring his fiance or wife to the stand.
I hope it's his wife.
Save my career. Save my career. Save me. You know what? Say these two young boys.
For Jazz, it would be something like she would like be testifying about essential oils or something.
Yeah.
That would be like the thing that like,
you see these two young lads over here. They've been miscategorized. Okay, save them. And Jazz would save them, and then he would Seth would walk out of the courthouse saying, I'm such a great lawyer, and it's all due to and credit to my hot wife. Look at her. Just look at her.
I have been achieving things on the back of Jazz being way better than me at everything for my entire marriage. So I would definitely take all the credit, and then later on be like, oh, sorry, hon, I forgot to mention you. I think this came up because of subtlety.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
your
the Chiefs
strength.
are saying the Chiefs are saying send us a first round pick.
How you could?
Is this why people got so screwed up when Marissa Tomei was Aunt May in the new Spider-Man movies? Because like I'm the age that I am.
I mean, she can still. Look, you can put.
Hey, Nate, you don't have to finish that.
Yeah, there is no reason to throw a verb.
She's still in the league, guys. Come on, she can get buckets.
There's no.
She can get buckets is fine.
She can get buckets. She's still in the league, guys. She's still in the league.
There's only one woman that I'm allowed to even casually reference, and that's Selma Hayek. And so,
which is kind of an interesting
No, it ain't.
spot for you. It's
It's
I don't know
amazing.
what that.
I mean, look.
Why do you
You ever
think
see
that
Full
is,
Dress
Seth?
In,
Why
buddy?
is that your? What? Sorry, what was that?
You know what? I'm going down a path here, and now
Yeah.
I'm going to subtly back out of that path. Very
Yeah,
subtly,
nothing more
quietly,
subtle than
but I'm
say
doing it.
nothing more subtle than backing up and going beep beep.
Hey,
Subtle.
hey, I saw. Now, by the way, kids, Netflix, if you've been clicking on anything over the last week, told you that, hey, come watch the Netflix slam with Carlos Alcaraz and sad Rafael Nadal. Please get healthy before clay court season, my guy. Why are we doing exhibitions when you're not healthy? Obviously for money. Anyway, he's never been to Las Vegas. Hey, we're gonna treat this like a prize fight, even though neither one of these guys are A, healthy, and B, competing at their hardest. But anyway, Netflix Sam, holy smokes, is that Catherine Zeta Jones? Okay, Adams, get out of the way. Get out of the camera's way.
Get out of the.
I don't know. Hey, I don't. Seth, you gotta
Yes.
get right up in the mic now. We've adjusted to your level, so you gotta get right up in there when you want to whisper with us here. I don't know what the bleep Nate's talking about. I don't know what any of these people have to do with anything. I know the next Netflix live sports thing is Mike Tyson
Yes.
versus Jake Paul. And you know what? You know who needs to watch that? Not a soul. Nobody. Nobody. Not me, not you, nobody.
Catherine Zeta Jones, Google tells me, is 54 years old, and that is news to me. Anyway, learned on Sunday that Catherine Zeta Jones likes watching tennis and was courtside for such a Netflix slam.
Oscar Bobo comments, I hope Chris Jones signs his deal, but you guys miss it thirsty.
You guys.
Yeah, poor Josh is getting just dragged in. You know, guilt by association, it's a heck of a thing. So the Chiefs want a first-round pick for L'Jarius Sneed.
Right.
I personally think there's a chance they could get it because there's multiple teams interested. Here's the one problem. Draft picks are never at their highest value until draft night. Whereas for the Chiefs, because of the way the franchise tag works and the salary cap works, and they lost, like they had the big jump in the salary cap, but then they lost a bunch of cap space because a bunch of guys hit their escalators, which is another thing that happens when you draft well. They kind of could use the room. Now, do they need it to operate? Not necessarily.
Right.
They could do other things, but they don't have a ton of space right now. And so they're in kind of this goofy, in-betweeny type place that makes things a little bit tough. Whereas if you really want to get your maximum value, you trade someone on draft night because that's when they're at their most valuable, right? Because then you can use them. Like it's like, hey, I know I know you've got like these picks coming up, and like that's just that's where you can really do it. But I really hope I don't know. Sorry, I went down a whole path there, but the timing of it worries me. Because I just got done playing around on Over the Cap, and really those escalators messed with them. And so I just like they're in kind of a unique situation here where it really would be best for them if they could get it done before like Monday or Wednesday.
Or Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday is, I think, what would be preferable for them.
Right. Because you can make whatever agreements you want before Wednesday, and
Yes.
people will be like, "How are they under the cap?" It's like they don't have to be yet. They can do whatever they want.
Yes, right. And the league, I mean, the league wants you to be cap compliant at like a certain time, but everybody understands that like there's some level of grace period. Like, okay, we know you're gonna like do the thing, right? What was sad yesterday is some teams are like, we could push it all the way up to Wednesday, but that's not really fair to like the guys. And like, if we've made these decisions now, we might as well just have these hard conversations now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Buffalo Bills, because that was sad, man. Like, these are good players. And
Mitch Morse, Seth's adult son.
Jordan Poyer, man. I mean, like, he's good.
Tre'Davious White. And now the Chiefs have a chance to do the funniest thing ever.
Right. And also, Seth put out Stephon Diggs' contract. And I was just like, I didn't need to see that.
That contract. If people are wondering why there's not conversations about the Bills trading Diggs, the
It's
contract
impossible.
it's not
It's
really
impossible.
tradable right now. It doesn't really buy them much relief.
Impossible.
And yeah, so it's you can see the Bills are a great example of how you can move money around but eventually stuff comes due. Now, what the Bills did is they really went all in on a 2 or 3 year window.
Right.
And so that's where you got to be careful because the salary cap, easy to manipulate, but eventually if you're not careful, if you sign enough guys to big deals that you can't get free of after they maybe aren't playing quite as well or whatever, right? You got to layer those contracts. The Bills didn't really layer those contracts, and they also thought Von Miller would still be playing elite football, and last year the bottom fell out.
Yep. And I think I've said this before publicly, but we all knew that contract was crazy the moment they agreed to it, crazy the moment he signed it. But you're over. One thing that I think Diana really explained, and this kind of comes back to the first round picks as well, Josh, is the fact that like when you get to this point, you are technically overspending. So what are you willing to overspend? Is it picks? Is it salary cap? Is it money that could be used 2 years from now that what is the owner sort of authorized for you to sort of play with? Obviously there's the big jump in the cap space this year. So there's a number of things, but you do get to a point of where you overspend, and free agency and right around early in the draft, if you want to deal with the draft picks, is fairly interesting. Now we know that the Chiefs wouldn't mind if they had a suitor that was ready to acquire L'Jarius Sneed via a trade on Wednesday. I think Diana is correct though in saying that like that's probably not going to happen. Diana was very clear in saying that Chris Jones is still the bigger priority in that you may drum up more of the interest once the first wave of free agency goes, and obviously you're getting closer each day to the actual draft.
And before we circle back around to the Chris Jones side again, that's a good point, and it's something that Diane went on to talk about in terms of the waiting game of the process of all of that. Seth, there are big swings on the horizon, and you wrote about that in the Chief of the North newsletter. I thought we'd get to it about 15 minutes ago, but here we are now. I think there's a couple parts of this that are really interesting, and a couple of them that I'm less interested in than others. But you can go read it right now, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. What are some of the big swings here as you're writing fan fiction for the NFL offseason?
Well, Josh, I'd love to tell you.
Yeah, please do.
I mean,
okay.
I'm really interested in hearing this fan fiction.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and that is what
Some of you started writing it earlier, but
that is essentially what free agency and the draft process is. Mock drafts. It's dude fan fiction. It's sports dude fan fiction. He's not going to get me, Kyle Coffey. Not today. And so I wrote,
keep going.
When I write about big swings, I like writing about
big
moves.
Swings.
Big swings.
Seth's
I like
a big swinger. We've known that's
big,
pretty evident.
Gigantic swings.
If you've been
Gargantuan, I would
following
even say.
if you've been following the clues throughout Only Weird Games, the number of times Seth goes to the gym to walk up a slight incline, he's all about big swings.
The incline is getting
dumbbells.
larger. And so here's the long and short of it. The idea of this is to give an idea that's kind of outlandish, maybe a little bit, and then talk you into it. And no, this is why this actually makes sense.
That's how you introduce.
That's how you start the conversation with Clark Hunt. Whoa. Let me talk you into it, all right? All right, stay with me, Clark.
Hey, listen, I'm a big swinger. I don't know if you're a big swinger. Let me talk you into it.
But I could talk you into a big swing or two.
So I'll give you one with L'Jarius Sneed. It's primarily about trading him for a receiver rather than trading him for a.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Tucker went rogue.
Yeah, Seth, Tucker's a great teammate. Tucker and I had a couple of weeks there where we were just off a tick right there. Tucker and corn dog. I didn't have to do anything.
The way you two are in such a rhythm that all it takes is a little eye contact, just a little soft wink. That it is impressive.
There's also a comment from earlier that I've been holding for a while that I just think is really good from Lance McCormick. It said, "Do better, Josh. I never blame the children, only the parents."
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Clearly, had you raised us right, something was. I was trying so hard. So the Brett Parker, this is a good comment here. Seth was trying so hard to ignore being called a swinger and just got absolutely wrecked. I was trying so hard. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And that's on me. I can only focus on one thing at a time.
Yep,
Chad
big swing.
says Tucker D. Franklin, and the D stands for ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Oh man, it is just I'm making it harder, and it's getting you guys.
Yep, that's
pushing
right.
You guys towards greatness.
Hey, can I grab Tucker? We were in the wrong formation.
The girl on fire in comments said Tucker was lined up on the wrong side, but he scored a Super Bowl touchdown anyway. I think maybe I was lined up on the wrong side there. My first read got taken away. Seth took away my first read. I moved on to the second read, and he was Fred Warner in the middle of the field. So I went, all right, McCole Hardman time.
It's really impressive how you've grown your field vision, your ability to really control everything.
That's just me. Listen, that's just me having great teammates, Seth. That's not, I show up. I'm excited to come to work every day. I try to bring an energy for the guys, but really that was all Tucker making a play.
Every single day. So for me, some of the big swings ideas, for me, it involves getting a veteran and maybe finding someone that could be a little higher level than what you might get in free agency, just pure free agency. And so there's a few different examples. Some of them are bigger than others because the goal of it is to say something that when you initially say it, someone rolls their eyes and says, that's dumb, that would never happen. And you go, or could it? And then you spend 7 or 8 paragraphs explaining how it could. And then by the time you're done, you're like, I think this makes some sense. Devonta Smith should be a Chief. And those types of things, I just have so much fun with it. And so one of my favorite ones is if you package Sneed, let's say the Colts, we know the Colts want Sneed. Do the Colts want Sneed badly enough to say, all right, you're picking it, I think it's 15. We're picking at 32. We don't want any more of your picks. You keep all your picks. Let's swap picks, and we'll even send you like a 6th rounder or something, and we'll just shuffle up there to 15. I like the idea of trying to move up in the first round, utilizing Sneed to try to maybe get one of like the dudes at receiver or maybe one of the dudes at tackle. Lots of good receivers, lots of good tackles.
That 15 looks to be like a tackle zone, Seth.
It does because
gotta be frank.
Here's the other thing with all the quarterbacks, all the receivers.
Come on down, JJ. Come on down, JJ.
There's also a guy who plays a position that might fall just a little bit because it's a certain position. Mm-hmm. But in Kansas City, man, wouldn't Brock Bowers look good? I mean, wouldn't he look good if he falls to like 12 or 13 and you're sitting there at 15, you're like, what's successful in Kansas City is 12 personnel. I mean, these are just things. And again, is it a little crazy? Sure. But the wailing and gnashing of teeth you could create, and it also, from, say, the Colts' perspective, might make sense because they can still hang on to a first-round pick and get a corner that they really want and hang on to Michael Pittman and still have all their picks, all those things. And, yeah, you move down a little in the first round. That's one of my favorite ones. And grabbing a tackle as well because the money that it saves in the long run. I think the Chiefs kind of like Wanya Morris, so I'm not sure they'll go that route. But other than that, did you know Deontay Johnson is a free agent, or he's got that
1 year left
this season.
He's got an expiring contract. Yes.
And I mean, do we think that guy is going to want to stay in Pittsburgh in the hellscape that has existed for him at the quarterback position?
He doesn't want to catch passes from Russell Wilson? What are you talking about?
It's so happening.
Allow me to repeat myself.
What?
That one's kind of maybe my low-key favorite from your list, Seth. We're not going to itemize them all. People should go read it. Chief North newsletter. This one's unlocked too, isn't it? Right?
No, I wasn't feeling that generous today.
I think it has the little thing about subscribing in the article because actually I also wanted to deliver something because I very frequently said I'll listen if there's no clips, I'll listen to the story on the Substack app, which is really convenient. You can do that for KCSN's articles as well, of course. Mm-hmm. But and sometimes I like listen to it if there are clips, and I'll kind of bounce around and look at the clips longer and listen to the audio and everything. It's great. Although today was a pretty specific challenge for the voice lady for the title of the AI voice lady for the title of your story.
Sneed for underscore 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 dot end quote. What are some big swings the Chiefs could take?
Some
big
old swings.
Some big swings the Chiefs could take underscore. But I kind of like the Deontay Johnson one because something that I wanted to get you to chime in on again. We mentioned a little bit on Tuesday, but if you are giving me sort of these mystery doors that we're going through, right? And one of them is pay Calvin Ridley or Hollywood Brown or one of those guys that's kind of high-end number 2, kind of where we're at, probably, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're going to say, I think you describe Pittman as maybe being a low 1, something like that in terms of the tier list or whatever. I'm still having a really hard time buying Sneed for Pittman or Sneed for Deontay Johnson straight up, or whatever it would be, as with the alternative being acquire the free agent and get picks that can continue to reset your clock in terms of your roster. And you also covered this in the story. I don't know that the Steelers have any real reason to trade for L'Jarius Sneed. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't call about Deontay Johnson while we're here. Because now you're kind of doing a different deal where call about Deontay Johnson and we can get you a third. You want a third? You need our late second? We'll think about it. You could play that game and then still move Sneed the way that you could also move him. Anyway, that's just where my head has been at with this trade all day today, as we've been kind of, sifting through the quote unquote news. And I was curious about your thoughts on that from a practical perspective. And also, what's your favorite of the big swings?
My very, very favorite of the big swings. There's a lot of them. People should go read it. I'm actually not in favor of trying to go get Brandon Ayuk or this legitimate number 1 that you're going to have to pay $30 million a year or something like that. That's the problem there. That's the same reason you'd have to pay too much, right? And the Chiefs have really shown, if we ever get to off-season lessons, they've shown with the wide receiver room in 2022 that you don't need an elite wide receiver for the Chiefs offense to be great. And then in 2023 we showed, but man, do you need some consistent wide receivers for the offense to be great. And so I think, for me, what you want consistency, and I love what Rashee Rice brings to the table, and I think he's going to keep expanding on that. But what's really important to me is fit, and that's why, out of Calvin Ridley and Hollywood Brown, I actually like Hollywood Brown a little bit more as a fit in Kansas City, because Ridley can take the top off the defense, but not as well as Brown. And they've already got 2 guys that work the intermediate area really, really well. And so between Pittman or Deontay Johnson, I really like Johnson's fit in the Chiefs offense better than anything he's had to do in Pittsburgh. So that actually would be my very favorite one, would be to call them up. Plus there's a little more control there because he's not franchise tagged. He's got the final year of his contract coming up. So that's a different gig, a little more control there, which means probably pay a little more for him. But that's actually my favorite one just because I think his fit is so good with the Chiefs. I think Jerry Jeudy's fit would be really great with the Chiefs too, but I don't see the Broncos ever in a billion years doing that.
Any of those strike your fancy, Nate, before we end up talking about Chris Jones a little bit?
I really like Brock Bowers. I really, if anybody's listened to this show long enough, they understand that, Brock Bowers is that dude. Now, personally, I would have advised him to not play a single snap after, Georgia won the national championship, absolutely just destroying TCU. But he still had an amazing game against Auburn, if I remember correctly, before injury sort of complicated his last season in college at Georgia. I'm looking right now at Dane Brugler, our amazing Jaff guru here at the Athletic. He's got.
Seth, I'll let you answer that question at the end of the show. Just be patient, okay?
If the Denver Broncos stay at 12, Dane has the Denver Broncos taking Brock Bowers at 12. So you may have to move up a little bit more depending on where things go. But again, a lot could change between now and the end of April. So the Saints are kind of in that, weird range. They're in 14. Pittsburgh's at 16. Indianapolis is at 15. So yeah, there's a chance that maybe that's as high as you could go, is like maybe 14, because again, the Raiders are at 13, the Broncos are at 12. Both of those teams could obviously move up if they're in search of a quarterback not named, Caleb Williams or Drake May or Jaden Daniels. The draft kind of swings on JJ McCarthy, like in a weird way. There's not that many defensive players that are going to be taken in the top 10, I believe, at least right now, because of the tackle supply, the supply of the receivers, and obviously the quarterbacks. So that could help, Brock Bowers maybe slip out of the top 12, maybe even to 14 or 15. That's the one scenario that I enjoy the most, just because that is a ready-made talent at a very specific skill position that Andy Reid has shown can utilize in the exact ways, to a point that, maybe it lessens even the burden of Travis Kelce, understanding that he's, further in his career to where even he needs a tag team partner of some sort. So the best one to me was the Brock Bowers, just because there's a path towards it that is not only realistic, but also understanding that he would help them immensely, even though he doesn't play receiver, on the depth chart.
And I'm of a little bit of two minds there, because it does at least give you that player on a rookie contract, so it soothes me there, despite how stressed out I get by trade ups. But Trent McDuffie worked out okay, and that was that was of course a draft day move, as opposed to sort of the early March math we're doing from here. There's going to be, I would imagine, a few mock drafts between now and then that will hopefully calibrate some of those things. Let's talk about Chris Jones. On Tuesday, we had a conversation about Mike Garafolo talking about Chris Jones staying in the AFC West but going into the Raiders, but it wasn't really a report. It was kind of a thing. Fan tweets about it. Chris Jones responds to it with a handshake emoji. What does it mean? I don't know. Nobody knows, but it's provocative. Well, if you thought Tuesday was provocative, earlier today, Chris Jones takes to Twitter. And he tweets out the now iconic photo of Andy Reid on top of him, celebrating the Super Bowl as the confetti is falling in the background. Did Andy Reid jump? Did he trip? Whatever happened there, everybody was okay, and it's some great pictures from that. But it's not just the photo. It appears to be a screenshot of presumably Chris Jones's phone, which does include the fact that he's been on a phone call for an hour. Up in the little notification bubble, 1 hour phone call ongoing. Chris Jones takes a photo of this. Take a screenshot of this photo on his on a screen. Can't tell if it's in a camera roll or where he got it from. I've done the investigation. And he tweets this out with 2 words and 6 extra characters. 2 letters and 6 extra characters. KC ... That's 6 periods, or if you prefer, 2 ellipses from Chris Jones. Now, this was long enough ago that we know it was not him breaking his own contract news. With the phone call going for an entire hour, we know he wasn't talking to the Katz brothers, because there's no way they can hold a conversation that long. And by the fact that Chris Jones just tweets crazy stuff all the time, I think we should probably take it with a grain of salt. But fellas, how did you experience the Chris Jones cryptic tweet season round 2?
You know when it really became a struggle for me was when Patrick Mahomes retweeted it.
And then Patrick Mahomes, like 3 hours later, retweeted it.
Yeah, because like Mahomes, unlike Jones, is generally... We all went through the same thing in our brains when this happened, right? Patrick Mahomes, oh no, he just saw it on Twitter. He thought it was a cool picture, so he retweeted it. But Patrick Mahomes doesn't do... Oh, I'm sorry. Patrick Mahomes doesn't do anything on accident. And he also has Chris Jones' number. But he wouldn't do something like that before it really became public. He's probably just messing around.
Maybe the hour-long phone calls with Chris Cabot. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's him hiring Mahomes as agent.
Yeah. Who knows?
Your Honor, I would like to remove myself from this conversation.
I'm sorry. Listen, Nate. You can go. You get out of frame and think about Marissa Tomei. I want to ruin this show's relationship with the Katz brothers without it affecting your relationship because you're a reporter.
Or Catherine Zeta-Jones. Just keep her in your hearts and prayers, guys.
Anytime it's time for me to talk about Chris Jones's representation, you have every right to leave the frame because I know you got to get them to tell you stuff, but I would have told them that they should have done some things differently last year. So, we've covered this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for putting you in a bad spot, Nate.
I think they've learned some things from last year. Yes. Also,
I would hope so.
Also, Chris is a
It made me so mad, man. I'm sorry.
I know it does. I know Chris is enjoying this to a fair extent. I still will lean on the idea that he wants to play for the Chiefs more than other teams at this point. This is just my viewpoint, ladies and gentlemen. But I do think that this photo and me, or photo, obviously the meme on Tuesday, the photo today, wants to see the real offer. I think that's what it.
They've had like 2 years.
Positional bargaining is just the worst.
I just think he wants to see the offer that he wants to see. I just, there are steps to this, as I understand, and we're moving closer to a conclusion of some sort. I don't know how it's going to go. Obviously, the team feels, and I've reported this, the team feels pretty optimistic. But, Chris Jones enjoys being wooed. And I do get the sense that he would like to be wooed some more.
And that, you can feel like the team senses that in their approach that this year. I know I know Craig Stout with the lab, excuse me, the great Craig Stout with the lab, who is one of my heroes in this industry. He
And by this industry, you mean humanity.
Yeah. Indeed. That was really funny.
Adam Sheehan said, can we get Josh to include his heart rate and blood pressure as an overlay on the screen? I'd love to see what the Katz brothers do with it. I could do that with my blood sugar. I don't know if I can do that with anything else yet. I'll work on it.
And so as the great Craig Stout said, the Chiefs have never really approached a free agent, even like an outgoing free agent or an incoming free agent, the way they have with Chris Jones, where they're like publicly wooing him. They're going out of their way to every chance they can get include him, which Mahomes started doing last year, honestly. Like some of the no, get Chris up on the stage with me and Travis. It's like, oh, Patty, you thinking ahead, son of a gun. This was,
he won the Super, he helped it, obviously he threw the game-winning touchdown, and he was the one who started to get Chris to realize we can go for 3.
Yes. Well, I want 3. Oh, yeah. What an accidental thing to just throw in there. Hey, man, we got to get 3.
Hey, man, and me, baby. We got to keep this going.
He didn't seem to need to get wooed more on stage at the end of the parade. Like, I don't know.
But there was wooing before they got on the stage.
It's a lot easier to woo when there's 20 drinks in someone.
Before the parade started. Yes.
But and so the Chiefs seem to be doing plenty of wooing. Honestly, I will say with all the public stuff here, and we'll always need to see the final numbers or everything, I actually do feel like with how the Chiefs have approached this one, if they're not able to close, I might actually leave this one being like, I think they did everything they could. Like,
I feel the same way.
We're forgetting someone. Are we ready?
Oh no.
This is gonna be another. Yeah. All right.
Are we ready?
Go ahead. Get ready, Claude.
Who has yet to woo publicly?
Man,
who's yet to woo Chris Jones?
As a player, you need the owner to say something about you.
Look, man. I'm just here asking legitimate questions.
Are you saying Nick Bolton hasn't wooed him yet? Because Albert Wilkinson in the comments makes a really good point.
The future owner of the Chiefs, Nick Bolton.
Nick Bolton has wooed Chris Jones, kids. I can assure you of that. Taylor Swift knows who Chris Jones is. All I'm saying is publicly, from a perception standpoint, one person intimately involved from the Chiefs organization has yet to publicly woo the way others have. He just also writes the checks.
Yes, and I'm assuming that he wants more wooing in the form of a check and in the form of guaranteed money, and I get all that. I do think if Jones hits free agency, I think another team will make him an offer the Chiefs can't or won't match. That they could in theory, but it might be fiscally irresponsible to match. I think that could happen.
I'm even sliding on that, man. I don't like... Somebody going to give Chris Jones... I love Chris Jones. I want them to get this deal done. I still think him getting a deal done in Kansas City is the best case scenario. I thought that last year also, and here we are.
I think a lot of people in the league would probably say that as well, Josh.
This is something that's come up a little bit more in a few just like public conversations with enough people that I think it's interesting. Chris Jones isn't more valuable anywhere else. He's valuable everywhere, but he's not more valuable anywhere else. And if you're a young team that's trying to get the keystone of your defense, he's going to turn 30. If you're an older team that's a piece away, is Chris Jones that piece? And do you have the money to do that if you're an older team already? Like, if Chris Jones was a free agent who was hitting free agency after being a Lion for 8 years or whatever it's been, I'd be like, man, the Chiefs would be a perfect landing spot for this guy, considering where their defensive line is at and everything. Somebody going to pay the 30-year-old $35 million per year? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think
35
the Texans are the team. Oh man, the
35 is a little
team
high.
okay,
let's eat. Let's chill.
I absolutely think it's.
But
I'm saying it's too high.
But not the pie in the sky. But I think
What grade did the NFLPA give Clark Hunt on wooing? It's a great comment.
Well, he's not subtle, is the thing.
Yeah.
Houston makes sense. I get it. Rookie quarterback contract, rookie first round draft pick, defensive lineman to put him next to. I get it, I guess. But so now are there more teams legitimately interested in trading for L'Jarius Sneed than signing Chris Jones? Is it a 2-team race?
Also led by a coach who leans on defense more than offense. Just keep that in mind. Also, I mean, he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, guys, and he just had one of the best postseason runs you can ever see if you just actually watch the tape. Don't look at the statistics.
Absolutely.
Just watch the bleeping tape.
It's completely true. Someone put it this way: Chris Jones is the best defensive player in Kansas City since Derek Thomas, and that is not an exaggeration. And it's taken
in terms of impact and significance to everybody else on that side of the ball.
Yep,
that is a legitimate argument,
right? And sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. No matter what you can do. I'm writing about the If I Were Brett Veach part 2, the free agency part tonight, which would be great if I knew 2 giant things with Sneed and Jones. So I'm actually going to do like a sliding doors thing, and I'm going to have if Jones stays, if he goes, because if he goes, I don't know if anyone's looked at Spot Track's free agent defensive tackles. There's a lot of really good ones on the market. Are any of them Jones? Not even close. But
you can rebuild the defensive line is in a horrendous spot right now of the pending free agents. I mean, it's literally, this isn't rude to anybody. It's guys on the rookie contracts, and that's it. And a minute who won't be healthy at the beginning of the year, we assume. If you take that Chris Jones money and want to rebuild the whole of the defensive line, it's going to get worse overall, probably. But there are players there to rebuild that group.
So
correct.
The reason you would ask, again, just from a negotiating standpoint, ladies and gentlemen, the reason you would ask for $35 million is because Nick Bosa makes $34 million per year. The reason a team would want to give you 32 legitimately is because of what Aaron Donald makes, which is $31.6 million per year. And kids, here's the hard question. I know the last team to win a Super Bowl not named the Kansas City Chiefs were the Los Angeles Rams.
It was so long ago, I couldn't even remember.
Who has been better over the last 3 years? Is it Chris Jones or is it Aaron Donald? 32.
That was Seth saying Chris Jones. You just didn't say his name.
Yes.
That is
Chris Jones.
that is in my opinion, in my educated speculation, that's the number that a free agent getting to free agency that a team will fully commit to is probably $32 million. Because again, much of this has the start of this all went towards proving that he was equal to Aaron Donald. And now he's had production that has been, say, surpassing Aaron Donald, who is obviously older. But when Aaron Donald was at his peak, he got 31.6. And Chris Jones appears to be at his absolute peak right now. And that's why a team may be willing, like the Houston Texans, to give him $32 million. 35, I think, is fool's gold to ask for. But you could always ask, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you can ask for anything.
We're not going to give you 34 because you're not as young as Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa theoretically
He's 26 right now.
Yeah, theoretically plays the more important position, the more glamorous position coming off the edge than from the interior. But as it may be, the Houston Texans can offer him $32 million, and he could be on the team for the next 3 years with C.J. Stroud not hitting his next contract until year 3 or 4, depending on how they structure his deal when it comes to that time. So if you're the Chiefs, the team that you're probably most threatened if Chris gets to free agency is the Houston Texans, because I think they can legitimately offer him a $32 million a year contract over the next at least 3 seasons.
And a chance to contend. Now they got lambasted by the Ravens, and Stroud needs to work on his ability to read through sim pressures and blitzes. But that's to be expected. Mahomes' first year starting the Ravens, the Patriots, they messed with him with those too. And Stroud looks legitimately good. Like, he looks like a top 10 guy already. So that's one of the very few teams with that combination of lots of money to spend and a legit chance to contend. But I will say, like I said, I'm going to write 2 different versions of it. There's an opportunity to pivot, but it would be even more so than the Tyreek Hill pivot, even more so than the great offensive line pivot of 2022 or 2021. No, 2022.
No, 2022. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even more so than those pivot moments, this would be one of the biggest pivots of the Chiefs dynasty, because you've got Sneed, who's been a huge part of the last 4 years, huge part of the defense, and Chris Jones, who's obviously, we've talked about this before, the 3rd most important player in this entire Chiefs dynasty. That would be a huge pivot, and that would be like, this is like Brett Veach cranking it up, like, oh, I didn't know there was an all Madden legendary mode, and then just figuring out. But there are good defensive tackles out there, and so it's just going to be an interesting thing to see what happens. Some of the stuff going on, though, it really does make me feel like it's just all this positional bargaining, all this just enjoying the leverage. And I get that. Players rarely have this kind of leverage. But it also, to me, I feel like the Chiefs probably aren't going to let 2 free agencies in a row rise and fall on Jones's contract situation. That would surprise me if they did.
Meaning that Chris Jones is going to sign in the first wave of free agency if he makes it to free agency, right? Like, he will either be the Chiefs' biggest signing or the Texans' biggest signing or whoever else, right?
Right. Yeah. That it is. It would be unusual if Chris lasted till like Friday of next week. It's possible, but it would be highly unusual given, some services, like I think it's Pro Football Focus, has him as technically the top free agent in this year's class, because he's not franchise tagged, and based on where he is in terms of how other teams have sort of tried to lock up their guys before free agency, most notably Mike Evans, right? So as of right now, Pro Football Focus thinks he's the number 1 free agent. We at The Athletic have, I think this is based on Randy Mueller's rankings, I think he has Chris Jones as 4th. But that's more based on age than...
He had Matabuke ahead of him. He was the number 2 tackle. Obviously, yes. He's since been tagged. But
yes, so thank you, Josh. So obviously he kind of rises up because the Ravens are going to want to do what the Chiefs did with Chris Jones previously, like franchise tag him and then obviously give him a contract. Once you kind of have a better idea of what the market is for a player of that position based on his age and years of service, it's something that I think the Ravens will be really good at. They'll probably figure that out sometime in June or early July before training camp starts. So, depending on who you ask, I mean, it's pretty much him. And now this is what's fascinating, because I know Seth likes this player. What's interesting is with the Dolphins releasing Christian Wilkinson, now sort of he's in the mix with him and DK sort of, being franchise tag and sort of like put to the side over here. So the Chiefs would have options if Chris Jones isn't retained, but they've really done everything they can to try to keep him, and Chris just wants to be wooed a little bit more. It's just
I
the
think
way
we
the
did
heart
this
works.
I think we did this like 10 times last year, but last thing, just give me the number. Percentage chance that Chris Jones is a Kansas City Chief starting next year. Seth?
33%.
Ooh, Aikman numbers.
Wow.
I'll go 66%. Go ahead, Nate. Give us the real answer.
57%. I think the pendulum is starting to swing, but it's still in the Chiefs' favor as we sit here today.
Swinging away from the Chiefs, what you're saying? Swinging away from the Chiefs.
It can swing back the other way. It's just something.
It's a pendulum. It's a pendulum. They swing both ways.
The moods can be changed by woos, is all I'm saying.
Well, this show has
all
been.
It takes is one phone call.
Maybe 1 hour-long phone call. Maybe he was on the phone with Clark Hunt at that time, and he was like, I've done it. I've been wooed. I hope you felt wooed by this episode of Only Wooed Games. You can read Seth's big swing story and the incoming part 2 of the If I Were Brett Veach story coming up on the Chief of the North newsletter. MNChiefsFan.substack.com. Also, Nate has a mock draft that we have not acknowledged up in The Athletic right now. He's very proud of it. It's his favorite thing he's written in a very long time. He loves early March draft season.
Do you know
you can go check that out there.
Shout out to everybody at PFF. I love them. Do you know they gave me an overall draft grade of a B? And I was shocked. Because I
took 2 local kids too from 2 local schools. You got to go over and read it to figure out who they are.
I did. So they gave me a B, and I was impressed because I don't know none of these kids, y'all. I don't know none of these kids. I'm just trying so hard to.
We're also. You're doing great, man. You're doing really good. I think my job today has been to try to stop you from finishing some sentences.
Okay.
We are also closing in on the hour and 10-minute mark, so it looks like I'm not going to get to my topic today of the off-season lessons learned from last off-season, but I'm going to keep trying, and eventually I think we're probably going to sneak that one in under the hour mark. Appreciate you guys making me feel like I, can also bring topics to the table. I've loved what you've written. I've read everything you guys have written, and I just really appreciate the things that you guys care about, and it's nice to know that that's shared amongst all 3 of us equally.
There's a super chat still too.
God, this show's got. If you want to do the super chat, you should have wrapped up your point 15 minutes earlier. I don't even know if this is serious or not. Albert Wilkinson says, Seth, my wife and I are considering having kids. Do you have any advice on how to prepare for fatherhood? First of all, hey, if you're gonna ask Seth for fatherhood advice, get pregnant first. Like we're considering having kids. Hey Albert, I know the first step. Go ahead, Seth.
3 things. 1, you can't. You cannot. You can read books. You can talk to good people, but you can't be prepared for fatherhood. It changes you in a way that you're not ready for it.
I'm so proud of Seth right now because, man, the game gonna move fast, Albert. Game's moving real fast.
No, Albert, let me tell you, if your wife and you are considering having kids and she's the one who's considering having kids, check back in with us in about a calendar year, sir.
Yeah, because you're having kids. You're having a kid.
You're having kids. This has been decided for you, Albert. All right, 2 other things. Actually kind of serious. Second, you as a father, your job, you are the umbrella that protects your kids from the crap that rains down on them in this world, not the other way around. It is your job to be a parent, a protector, a provider, and your kids, you should not burden them with your crap. Ever. That is not their job. Now, like if you're like 80, then they, bring
They
you
can
back
help
in.
out. They can pick up around the house, but
And then finally, the number 3, just try. Just try. Show up, try, do your best. That's really all you can do, and it'll be enough. So there you go. That's actually true.
And, as Brett actually points out here in the chat, get pregnant first. What do you think Albert is currently doing? I'd say put on a couple episodes of Only Weird Games, light some candles, and set the mood,
Right.
First 15 minutes of this show might do it. I don't know. We went to some weird places out of the gate. Well, thank goodness that's over. Nate, your turn.
Okay. Wow.
I already told you guys to go read their stuff. Nate, you can get us out of here. I'm supposed to do 21 questions with Can't Hear in 3 minutes. So I didn't think this show would go an hour and 15 and
It's not our
start
fault
several
you're not
minutes
paying
late.
attention.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm not paying attention.
I just want to give a shout out to Jonathan Stepp. I met him yesterday at a local establishment. He was very nice. He loves the show. I need to do more appreciation shout outs. So Jonathan, this is for you. Jonathan. And then secondly, kids, I know there's been updates. Here's another. Confetti is going to be mailed, I believe, starting either tomorrow or Saturday. It's been a lengthier process because this is the most we've ever had requested it's crazy to me that in a 2-hour span via the vehicle of Twitter that me and Holly got bombarded. Okay. It's still a 2-person operation. So please give Holly Taylor all your praise, all your admiration, and all your patience. All right. I'm just trying to do the good husband thing and try, as Seth says. So the hope is that tomorrow or Saturday, before the United States Postal Service takes a day off on Sunday, the first wave of confetti will start to be sent out. Hopefully next week, once we send out all the requests, we'll obviously take a relook at how much we have left. It's not a lot. So unfortunately, I don't want to give too big of a projection, but it's not a lot based on the amount of people that we're sending confetti to already. But hopefully I'll have that update on Tuesday, our next episode, during free agency, which is wild. And lastly, my bosses, the overlords, God bless them, would like for you to buy this book, guys.
It's
in my
you can see
hand.
it's a real book now. It's in your
It's
hand.
a real book. It's really here. It's so nice. It's in local bookstores if you are around. And it was really cool to see it yesterday. And I believe, I don't have it over here. Where did it go? Oh no, that's not good. Is it somewhere else? Ooh, let's not show too much.
I saw papers in there. I think it was your social.
But anyway, it was cool that I believe Rainy Day Books had again this Undeniable for like less than $20, written by mostly yours truly. So I don't know how big of a pitch that really is, but
If you just carry it under your arm and you run into Seth into Nate, honestly, also if you run into Seth in the greater Kansas City area, we'll all sign it at any point. I'll draw a mustache on Mahomes on the cover if you want.
So yeah, if people are wondering, this thing goes for, oh my goodness, 126 pages. This
Look
thing
at that.
is real, kids. Oh yeah.
Look at that. Photos and words and everything.
Yeah, it's really nice, and I do appreciate that Rainy Day
Beautiful.
Books had it right next to our buddies, Mark Dent, Rustin Dodd, right next to their book on Mahomes in Kansas City. So it's a great sort of book into the 2023 season. We obviously read a ton about Mahomes through those guys, and now you can read about why the Chiefs are back-to-back champions. So that's it. That's all. Thank you, Jonathan. And if confetti is mailed to you very shortly, isn't my wife cute? Isn't she great? Isn't she awesome?
It's something having a smoking hot wife, isn't it?